Hey YouTube, coming at you with Beyond the Hype. This is a series I created because when we get new Pokemon in the game that potentially could change the meta, every content creator wants to put it out first and they want to hype it up for you to click on it. But I feel like when they do that, they lose a lot of the actual analysis that would help you. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go over Annihilape. We're going to go over the stats in the different movesets. We're going to look at some comparable Pokemon, other counter users, and why you may want to use those instead of Annihilape. We're going to look at what potential moveset to run with its various matchups in the Great League, and then we're going to look at my battles today in the Go Battle League. So timestamp below, but I think it's all pretty important if you want to actually learn about this Pokemon and why you should or should not use it. So Annihilape, rank 10 on PvPoke, which is pretty nice up there. It is a interesting typing. The typing is what is one of the things that it has going for it, a fighting and ghost. So it's only weak to four things: fairy, flying, psychic, and ghost. So there's like three things here. So one, your fighting typing is already weak to fairy, psychic, and flying anyways. So it's not like you're adding much there. Your ghost is adding a ghost weakness. You are also neutralizing now fighter because half ghost is weak to sorry, dark, because ghost is weak to dark, but fighting resists dark, so you neutralize that. Um, but then I forget which one you make back on it. Let's look what the resistance is. The resistance is, so you're normal, right? So you pick up double normal with the ghost resistance, double resist fighting, bug. So lots of nice resistances here. And then rock and poison as well. So that's the strengths of it. That kind of duo typing is kind of interesting. Stat product wise, it's not amazing. And stat product, I'm going to show you when I compare to the other fighters. The stat product for me is kind of not great. 123.9 attack, 106 defense, 137 stamina for an 1805 overall. So if you've been around for this channel for a while, I always say if you're going to be in the Great League, minimum your overall stat product needs to be like 2000. That's kind of when you start pushing to be good. So you have like 2000 plus with good movesets, you're really, really strong. If you're at 2000 with an okay moveset, you're still doing okay. If you're less than 2000, you really need to have a good moveset. And the moveset on this Pokemon is really good, and it's so good that it's actually difficult to figure out what to run. So the fast turn moves here, very obvious. You run counter. Counter is one of the best fast moves in the game. The the charge moves are interesting. You have four options. There's five here, but you only have four options here. So close combat, Night Slash, Shadow Ball, and Ice Punch. So you can run this. I think I've got my analysis coming up here. We're going to run it four ways, but let's just look at the pros and cons of each move. The recommended moveset on PvPoke is Ice Punch and Shadow Ball in the Great League, and I used that today, and I was not impressed overall. I think the reason that it runs that moveset is because the meta is dominated um, it was dominated by like Medi, um, and then you have a ton of Gligar, and you had at times a ton of Altaria and stuff like that, right? So having that, it's trying to like mimic what Metachamp and Poliwrath are doing with that Ice Punch coverage for flyers while still having a strong secondary move for other Pokemon. Scald obviously on Poliwrath, Dynamic Punch or Psychic on Metachamp, and now your second move being Shadow Ball or Close Combat. If you're looking at an actual like damage per energy, Close Combat is 10 less energy but the same damage. 120 damage both for Shadow Ball and Close Combat, but 45 versus 55 energy. So in terms of damage per energy, 2.18 versus 2.67. So way better have Close Combat. Obviously, when you throw a Close Combat, your defense lowers by 2 levels, which makes you way, way easier just to take out, and you're already a somewhat classy Pokemon to start with. So that is why I think the recommended moveset is Shadow Ball, just so you don't um, auto like nerf yourself and then make it easier for your opponent to take you out. Having run Shadow Ball, I found that like 80% of the time I much would have preferred close combat, quite honestly. I don't mind the Ice Punch, and actually, when you're going to see in a lot of battles, I actually have problems getting to the Shadow Ball. And that's another reason that I would run close combat next time is that like with the 55 energy, you're a glassy Pokemon to start with. 55 energy, so like counter is you get 7 energy per turn, so 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49. So 6, 7 to get to the close combat, 8 to get to the Shadow Ball, and you just get to it there. So like next time around, it's even better for the close combat. So I think in terms of like the damage output, damage per energy, energy that it takes, how glassy the Pokemon, I think I would run close combat. Why you'd run Shadow Ball over close combat is if you want some coverage for um, basically you're covering Pokemon that you could or would have a tough time with if you only ran like an Ice Punch. So those are like your psychics, like Medi, Cresselia, stuff like that. So that's why they're saying Shadow Ball for coverage, and then the close combat, like you don't need because you got counter. I would argue that like you're gonna see a lot of the battles. I'll go over that. It's like I would rather have close combat in a neutral situation just to like hurt a bunch of these Pokemon. And the Night Slash versus Ice Punch is kind of an interesting one too. So Night Slash is 5 less damage but 5 less energy, so higher, slightly higher damage per energy with the 12.5% chance of boosting your attack by 2, right? And that's very, very deadly when you're a counter user because that is huge. Um, so in terms of damage per energy and that, like I would probably prefer Night Slash on it. Ice Punch again, you're running Ice Punch because Glygars and Altarias and Flyers and everything are really, really prevalent in the Great League. So I think if you're just gonna go for actual coverage, and like it says, coverage spam slash bait, right? As opposed to boost spam plus bait. Like coverage spam, it's a great coverage move. So I don't hate using it, but I would have preferred, honestly, most Canaries to use um, Night Slash Close Combat. In terms of comparables, why would you use Annihilape instead of just using Poliwrath? Annihilape is ranked higher on PvPoke, right? But in my opinion, I think Poliwrath is way better, and you could just start by looking just at the stat products, right? Like I said, you got to be closer to 2000, and this is just I put in my IVs. I have a 15, 15, 14, but you can like if you want, you can maximize these IVs just to make it comparable. You can maximize those. So if you maximize IVs, 1966 for 1833, right? So you have similar stamina, but then like way higher defense on Poliwrath compared to Annihilape, and then your attack is just a bit lower on Poliwrath. I just find Poliwrath with I find that Icy Wind is better than Ice Punch because you get the guaranteed 100% lowering of the attack, and I find Scald is not as good as Shadow Ball, but it's a quicker move, does a ton of damage, and it has a 50% chance of lowering your opponent's attack, right? So I just find the moveset better on Poliwrath. So with the moveset on Poliwrath, with more bulk and still hitting decently hard and being able to lower your opponent's attack so many times, I think Poliwrath is a better Pokemon. And I was actually thinking like, who are the other counter users in this? Like if there's Medicham, whatever. But then I was looking at like Surfetch, and I've used Surfetch multiple times, and you could theoretically run the same moveset here, right? You could theoretically run um, counter, Night Slash, and close combat for both. And the trade-off being um, you are way, way more attack heavy here on the Surfetch, but your defense is like you get taken out so quickly. So the question is like, what is the trade-off and is it worth the trade-off? I think adding the ghost typing is huge, I think. Being able to like resist counter and stuff is quite strong when there's like Poliwraths and Medis and a lot of other counter users everywhere. So I think having the ghost typing on Annihilate does bring it up a bit. And I think just that like Surfetch is like basically taking one move and you're gone. Annihilate, there were certain times where it's like even taking a body slam put you in the pretty I mean not body slam because body slams resisted, but there was a move I'll show you in the battles that like hit you and then you're like, oh, this took me pretty low already. Um, so yeah, so it's a little tricky from that perspective. Last movesets. So I've got 5 different movesets here. First one is counter. So all counter, obviously. So Ice Punch Shadow Ball, Night Slash Shadow Ball, Ice Punch Close Combat, Night Slash Close Combat, and Close Combat Shadow Ball Double Nuke. Um, both maximize for rank 1 stat product. If you go down to the rankings, why you are running Ice Punch Shadow Ball is because the record actually has it 24-17 there. However, um, I don't just truly look at the record. And this is where the close combat's coming in. If you will notice, um, the Night Slash being more of a bait move, but also the close combat, even though you're 1 less here, your average is way, way higher. And it's just because one, Night Slash is quicker to get to than Ice Punch, so you're getting to it more. But that's the same why you're seeing the 508 on the Night Slash with Shadow Ball here. But why you're getting the better record and the overall average is because the close combat is also quicker to get to with that same damage output, right? So you're probably being able to launch that move more and flip some wins here. So you can look at it, if you want to go down to the bottom, you can look at all different win differences here. Um, Obviously, you're going to lose much more in the one shield with nukes. Like if you change this to the zero shield, you'll probably pick up a lot more in the bottom here, having double nukes options, right? So you didn't actually pick up more, but you just lost way more up here, but you just kind of stay consistent being able to just throw your nukes there as opposed to two shields. I gotta imagine that having the Night Slash close combat is probably going to be the way to go in the two shields. Um, yeah, so Night Slash or Night Slash Shadow Ball or Night Slash Close Combat, just way better than the other two, right? In terms of average and overall. So um, that is the different move sets. Again, so I played with so team building and what I play with and what worked and what didn't work. Annihilate, I used Ice Punch Shadow Ball the entire time. Because it's so glassy, and because it has the four weaknesses, one of them being Ghost, and it's gonna have problems against flyers and stuff like that, I started with the Lickitung because it's got the bulk, it's got the Ghost coverage, it can cover most flyers, pretty much. So I started with Swampert, and my thought process behind that was um, Lickitung is great, but it's more just to absorb damage, and Annihilate is really going to be stronger when it has shield advantage, right? Because it's pretty glassy. So I want something that I can like hit hard with in general, and then Lickitung absorb damage, and then Annihilate with shields. That's why I start with Swampert. The problem, I had two problems with Annihilate today. One is everyone was hunting it, right? Everyone knows everyone was going to use this Pokemon to test it out, so everyone was hunting it. So there was a ton of Skarmories, a ton of Gligar, a ton of Trevenants showing up, right? So a ton of grass, like grass poisons showing up. So I ran into a lot of those with Swampert. So I'm like, okay, I'm running into too many grass and too many of those Pokemon. I need to switch to something that's still spammy enough, but maybe a little more bulky and a little more coverage. And then, hello, if you look at my top teams yesterday, Gligar is the best one in this meta right now. So those are the two that I used. So I've been talking a lot just in this introduction. That's a 12-minute introduction. So this is definitely going to be a longer battle because I got like 20 minutes of battles here. So strap in. In this matchup, Azumarill, um, I'm only really leaving if I see like a grass or like a dragon that I can't do much against. So this Azumarill matchup is fine. Um, Again, saving shields, getting off two earthquakes here. We see MP on the second one, so that's nice. They actually double shield right away, and that's fine. Kind of did its job, exactly what I needed to do. Obviously not a ton of damage, but grabbing two shields is great. Um, we'll get the Lickitung alignment on it here to get to the power buff. I may, I don't need to shield one. I may shield one though. Outcomes there, and this is one scenario where I had this multiple times today where I was like, man, I wish I had close combat. Yes, I'm aware. Here's the two things. If I had close combat, I lower my defense times two, and then I go into a matchup against a Azumarill where I have nothing. So why they're also recommending Shadow Ball is for the coverage, right? If you run Ice Punch or Night Slash and Close Combat, you have nothing for a Azumarill. If you run Ice Punch Close Combat, you have nothing for like a Jellicent. Um, so that is why they're giving you the Shadow Ball option. But in this case scenario, you're just like, okay, I can't throw Shadow Ball because that's double resistance, so I have to throw Ice Punch, and a non-stab Ice Punch is pathetic, right? It's not a good move. We saw like the 1.38 damage per energy. It's a bad move. And now I'm just kind of stuck in this matchup. I want to come up with some energy, but and they body slam, which is great. Like that's where the ghost typing comes in. But now it's like, okay, I finally get to the Shadow Ball. And again, nice coverage move, hard hitting, but still not enough to actually make a dent there. So I bank the move and snipe to take this out. Um, so I do take it out, and then They have a Gligar in the back, and then with a shield on Lickitung is an easy matchup there. Good lead here, and there's your first grass. So I kind of make a mistake here to a certain extent. Like, and this is the problem with Annihilate. If you're behind on energy already against the superior, which has air release, which hits super effective for you, you're not going to outpace counter ice punch compared to their vine whip air release, and they have so much more bulk that they're probably going to take it from you anyway. So that's why I immediately came in Lickitung, thinking like I have no shot there. Um, so that's kind of rough for Annihilape. So I know. So there's a couple things where I know I saw every other content creator put it out. I saw every other content creator say this is meta, this thing's OP, this thing's got a crazy moveset. I went 5-0 with it. Um, I don't think you are going to get, if you use it, I don't think you're gonna feel it's as dominant as they're making it out to be. So just keep that in mind. So they do have a double grass in the back. Swampert comes in with the Earthquake. This is great chip. Plus, they're potentially mud shot range, so they kind of have to throw, which means I can counter down and get to 2 Shadow Balls. But again, this is one scenario where I'm basically at 2 close combats. But I'm not at 2 close combats, I'm at 1 and then a bit Shadow Ball. So I need to Shadow Ball, um, and then I need to get to the next Shadow Ball, right? As opposed to if you had close combat, you're just back-to-back close combat there with the energy saved to get to a close combat. So in neutral situations, it's a much better thing to have close combat on. Lickitung Lead is tough because it has Power Whip, and if you are Shadow Swamper, it's 2 Hydros. If you're non-Shadow, it's 3 Hydros. So this matchup's really bad, so I think I try and like catch. I also tried to use Annihilape as a safe swap a couple times. Um, and again, you're using Ice Punch for coverage. You're going to see here, I think they maybe shield one, but Ice Punch, no, they don't even shield the first one. Ice Punch, a double super effective move, does not take out the Gligar. I make a mistake here. I'm like, I can just counter down. Maybe you should count. I can counter down. I just have to 2 shield. But when I go down 2 shields, I'm in like a world of pain here. So even if they come in with the Lickitung on the front again, like I'll chip with Ice Punch. But again, Ice Punch will not do much in general to Lickitung, and they'll let it go. So I'm like, okay, I'll try and bank that last Ice Punch because maybe there's something in the back that needs Ice Punch. I think it's maybe a Gligar again. Again, a lot of things were hunting Annihilape today. Skeldurge. Skeldurge is one I saw a lot today because it has the Shadow Ball itself, but it is doing neutral incinerates while you're doing resisted counters, and by the time you get to the Shadow Ball, it's already too late, right? So that is why, like, I understand why they're saying you use Ice Punch. I don't know. I feel like you're gonna lose the I feel like you're going to lose the Gligar matchup anyways, and you're going to lose. I think maybe in some scenarios you can flip Altaria, because Altaria takes a while to get to the Sky Tax now. Um, but overall, I feel like Night Slash would have come in helpful a lot more than Ice Punch did today, quite honestly. Um, and then same thing with close combat. So I think there's 2 reasons that I don't think it's as strong as everyone makes it to be. One is, again, unfortunately unlucky that I just saw a ton of answers to it today. Um, and this is also why I changed the team because I'm like, Altaria on the lead is like real tough. So I just come in here, safe swap. They come in with a Reggie and take the move. So nice catch on the Reggie, and I'm already like way too far behind to have a chance. Um, yeah, so everyone was hunting it today. And again, maybe the team just didn't work. I'd have to go see how other players used it. Um, I think you have to use it with shields. Like, I think I got the idea. Like, you need shields for it. Um, yeah, you need shields for it, which is why I put Lickitung to absorb that damage. Maybe the Swampert Gligar didn't work. Maybe if I found like a third, like you maybe need more flyer coverage with this team. Like you need to cover Skarmory, you need to cover maybe Altaria a bit more, all the flyers a bit more. I ran into a Noctowl today, right, which just kills Lickitung and Annihilape. So like you maybe need something in the front for a flyer. But then this scenario here, like I knew that was an icy wind, but like you kind of still have to shield it. Like it really does add up quick on you. And at this point, like I'm so far behind. So that's when this is when I put in Gligar to give me a little more coverage for what I was seeing was dragons. Like I saw grass multiple times and I saw dragons multiple times now. Um, so that's why I switched to Gligar. And then we'll watch to see the Gligar matchups and then we'll close it off in like 10 to 12 minutes here. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if you've used it today or you went against it today, and then let me know how it did. And again, like Wiggly is a kind of core breaker here. I'm farming up and then I'm going to try and get a power whip off here. And say like, and this is Annihilape again. Again, how many scenarios are you going to get Annihilape on Wigglytuff? But Wigglytuff has the normal resist, double resist the Shadow Ball. So if I had a counter close combat, I would take it out with ease. Um, Quicker to get to close combat, plus it'll probably one shot because it's neutral between the counters and that. But with Shadow Ball, like it's going to be a tough scenario here. So the Whiscash, again, I went over in my moves that need to be nerfed. Scold makes Whiscash and Poliwrath really problematic. Um, I do have a move bank, so I'm going to throw this before they can get the Scald off on me here. Kind of hoping the Poliwrath comes in. It is a Pelipper, so I am kind of in trouble here. I need to like double shield because Pelipper, because Annihilape doesn't have any problems with Pelipper. But again, look at like how many gliders have we seen? How many like here's Pelipper now. We saw a bunch of grass Pokemon. Like there's just I think a lot of people are hunting Annihilape, which gives me a kind of maybe skewed sense of how strong it could be when there's so many things just going after it. So I'm gonna chip it here, and then I think I catch a Weather Ball because I think my win condition was Gligar. So I'm like, okay, they're just gonna throw at the last second when they have to. So catch the Weather Ball. Um, the charms are adding up. Again, if I had a close combat, I'd be throwing it right now, but I can't. So I don't have close combat, so I have to throw a non-stab Ice Punch, which is going to do nothing. But a close combat would have taken out from there. I do manage to take this out anyways, and then Wing Attack down. So it was a nice workaround there and a nice catch for the win. But again, from my personal experience, if I'm running this again, I would rather run Ice Punch, Night Slash. I'm still debating between because I understand Ice Punch just gives you way more coverage than Night Slash. Um, but if I'm running this again, I'm running it with close combat instead of Shadow Ball. And I'll just cover my Azumarill and stuff weakness with that. Azumarill plus Ghost weakness, use what you need to cover. So I get in here, I catch a Body Slam, which is nice. Scald again, right? Scald a decent move. Shadow Ball takes an extra 10 energy to get to, and they shield. So now I can just only go Ice Punch. So yeah, it is what it is. So I don't want to say it's not worth the hype. Number 10 on PV Poke is debatable. Like again, PV Poke is a guide, so you should use it as a guide, and not like this is the end all rankings system. Like use it as a guide for rankings. Um, in terms of like counter users, I think the main reason it gets such a boost is that ghost typing, right? Being able to come in and resist counter users is huge. Um, Overall, again, I would much prefer to use close combat, but you have options for the moveset. So a decent moveset, being able to have that ghost typing to resist counter users um, is huge. And then the stat product, not amazing. Um, but again, you can kind of somewhat get away with it because of its move stats overall. But again, I think what is really holding this Pokemon back is actually the Night Slash and Ice Punch. Honestly, I think that's actually the main reason this Pokemon is being held back. Shadow Ball, again, overall pretty strong. Close combat, a great damage per energy move. Ice Punch and Night Slash are just not good. They're not good moves to start with. They're non-stab, same type attack bonus. So you don't get that bonus with those moves on Ice Punch or the Night Slash because you're a Ghost Fighter. So you don't get any additional damage there. Ice Punch has no secondary like stats, so like you're not going to lower your opponent's attack like Icy Wind does. And then if you get the boost on Night Slash, that can get out of control, which is fun if you it's fun if you get that, but it's not fun if you're on the other end. And then yeah, but if you don't get it, and then again, it's just like a not great damage per energy, low move when you're not going to get to a bunch of moves anyways, unless you have like shields or a bunch of energy advantage with the counters. So take that as you will. That is my honest analysis of it. If you used it today, let me know. Um, let me know. Is Icy Wind not a clone of Ice Punch just with the ability to lower your opponent's? Let me just check that. So Ice Punch is a little less, 40 energy, 55 damage versus Icy Wind, which is 45 energy, 60 damage. So 1.37 versus 1.33, but then just the 100% chance of lowering the attack just makes Icy Wind a million times better. And that's why if you're gonna have that like low damage per energy um, move set, you need some sort of secondary typing, secondary thing, or else it's just not a good move, right? And that's the thing. So we know that Night Slash has a 12.5%, like a 1 in 8, so not amazing, but not terrible. But a two-time attack, 2 plus attack to yourself, which is huge. So at a 1.42, but just Ice Punch at a 1.37. I said multiple times now, all the punches need to be buffed. Even in my video on Thursday talking about moves that need to be buffed for next season, I said the punches. I said anything in this like 1.2 to 1.4 range that does not have a secondary stat, secondary, I don't know what they call it, secondary effect chance need to be buffed. So like I mentioned like Bone Club and stuff like that. Like I'm fine with these like 1.3 damage per energy, 1.4 if they have like a 100% chance of lowering your attack or buffing your attack or even a 50% chance. It's just these like 1.33, 1.4 damage moves that don't have a secondary effect really are not good moves, and it really limits the Pokemon. And I find that's kind of the case with Ice Punch here. Nice coverage, but like you don't have the bulk or stab or anything like that for that coverage to matter, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't. So the question is, how often are you going to see this Pokemon moving forward? Right? Everyone tried it today. Everyone went anti-meta and countered it. So where do I see this moving forward? Honestly, I think people are just going to revert back to Poliwrath very quickly. I think Poliwrath is just so strong. I'm using it on my third team right now, not my second team. I use it on my third team. Um, I've already got one that I filmed earlier in the season coming tomorrow. And then Monday morning I'll use it was like a Registeel team. So I'll showcase that Reggie team Monday morning, and then we'll see. Again, 50 battles per day, so I'll have a lot of teams to go over. I just see if I can find time to actually shoot multiple videos per day. So I won't do it on the weekends. The weekends I'll just do like one video each day. Saturday, Sunday, but maybe like Monday through Thursday, we'll try and like double up here on videos. We'll see. Um, yeah, so moving forward, I would put it, that's the thing. If I'm like, what fighting Pokemon should I use? And it's funny because if you put fighting into PvPoke, Annihilape is the top ranked fighter at number 10. But personally, I would use Medi and I would use Poliwrath before I use Annihilape. However, looking at the rest of these counter users, fighters, Scrafty, Machamp, Hitmontop, um, Sirfetch'd is down there. I would probably use Annihilape third, um, just because of its typing and its like wide moveset. And like it's got like a little, that's why like Sirfetch'd is so much lower. It just has like way less bulk in it. Annihilape isn't super tanky, but it's not like terrible in terms of bulk. So yeah, that is it. I think we are on 115. Could be one of the last battles, if not the last battles. Um, Probably the last battle here. Yeah, didn't talk much about the battles, which is fine. Um, it's more talking through the Pokemon and what works and what doesn't work. Again, in terms of team building, I think you have to build with bulkier Pokemon. I think you need to build with coverage for um, flyers for sure. Like again, Ice Punch is okay, but you're still gonna lose the majority of the time to flyers. So I cover flyers. Ghosts are an interesting one too because it's you're most likely gonna lose to most ghosts because although you have Shadow Ball, the counter is resisted, so a lot of your opponents will be able to get like their fast move off first. I actually went up in my second team. I used Sableye, and they were using Annihilape, and it's just like Shadow Claw super effective, Foul Play super effective. So they used it Annihilape as like a safe swap, and it was just very easy to come in and just take it down. I do get off Sky Attack here to take me out, but low enough that I out lick them before they take me out, and that is it. And that is a 32-minute video, so we're not going to talk much more. That's my analysis on Annihilape. Let me know in the comments below if you used it and what you thought about it, or if you went against it and what you thought about it. But that is it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.